This conference will now be recorded.
Stewardship from the beginning.
We started.
Come on.
Cheryl
Everybody's
Robinson.
looking
Here.
out.
Dave Rowley.
Here.
Jeff Lord.
Here.
Tom Armeo.
Here.
Craig Gelson is absent. Patricia Kennedy. Here. Andrew Marietta is absent, and Jim Stewart is absent.
All right, I will forego the chairman's remark and move right into the meeting agenda. Looking for the approval of the meeting minutes from May 25th.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Report of the Audit and Finance Committee.
Defer to the minutes for that.
We don't need a motion for that, correct? We do that. Bills and communications. Anything out of the ordinary there that needs to be highlighted? Does it look like it? If not, I will take a motion to pay the bills.
No move.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Report of the Projects Committee.
Okay. I have no great vast comments to make. Everybody seen the minutes? As for approval. You have anything to update us on, Jody, at all?
Well, I can go over quickly what we've been working on regarding IOXs. Nassim did the second drawdown request. It's a rather complicated one because she's got to go through all the bills and verify the checks or charges that were done. And she then submits those to the town for their signatures, and then she just forwarded it to the state for their approval. So I'm pleased that the same is taking on community development work. In discussions with Apple Converting, they would like us to do a phase 1 on the building to verify that it's a clean building.
This is the one that was just vacated.
I'm sorry.
Well, it was just vacated.
Yes.
So I'll reach out to 3 engineering firms tomorrow and ask for proposals from them to see what the cost would be.
When they talking about asbestos. So.
Well, I think
Phase one is historical research.
right.
It's not
It's not.
It's not samples or 800
Some theory they'll
something.
notify DEP, go through and see if there are any spills reported at the site and stuff.
There was.
They'll report, the engineering firm, an independent firm, will contact DEC and see if there were any known spills on the site. It's just like a literature search.
Just to refresh my memory, what is the contract that we're involved with that?
Right now, we submitted a proposal that included a 1-year lease with the option to buy. They've come back and said, well, we have a 5-year lease. Time to go after grants to assist with the acquisition. They also said, well, if we're going to do a 5-year lease, can you lower the price? And I said, well, actually, we don't. So I talked to them yesterday for about a half hour on the phone, and I sent copies of their proposal over to Kurt for his review and comments, and I'm waiting for Kurt to get back. Thanks, Kurt. We also met with TS Pink that makes soapstone. They currently have 17 employees. They are looking at upgrading their marketing capabilities. Currently, they used to sell a lot of bulk shipments to both out to the West as well as Europe, France, Italy, Germany, and Korea. After the pandemic, they started seeing a lot of the mom and pop stores that want these go out of business. So they want to do direct marketing as well as bulk marketing. And they're in need new type of computer software and computer equipment to do that marketing for them. So the process about helping them assist with some grant financing for them.
Where are they located?
They're located in the Oleana Business Park, actually right around the corner from the building that Bird Trucking used to be in.
Okay.
Also this week, Brooks Bottling contacted me again, and they said they're now on track. They're filling out all the financials that we need, and they want to move ahead with the Small Cities Grant. We have been contacted by a company out of Rochester, a manufacturing company that is looking at different sites around the area, and they focus the 3-acre site in the Oneonta Business Park. So we'll pursue some dialogue with them. And then everybody's gonna love this. I was contacted by a representative of 47 Chestnut Street LLC, and they would like to work with the IDA to do a sales tax exemption for their building restoration project.
Is that the only on the paper?
Yeah, it is. Apparently, they're looking to get historic preservation tax credits, so they would have a for-profit, which is 47 Chestnut Street. They actually own the building. And I did say, well, right now, I have no idea what the project really is. Repeatedly, it's a $13 million project. And I said, you can give me the numbers and the front calculations to see if there's a benefit for you. But based on our fees, our attorney fees, there may not be a huge savings for sales tax.
So 3 is the Friends of the Oneonta. Maybe we could do 2 minutes in executive session on this.
Okay, anything else?
That's everything that I have.
Yeah, I wish you were busy.
We're busy.
Yeah, I know.
And hopefully Megan comes back a little bit.
Okay. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
All right, with nothing else, we'll adjourn this committee meeting and go back to the boss.
All right, we'll move on to new and unfinished business, which we have the Richfield Business Park on there. See Larry's on here. I don't know if there's anything I can.
Regarding the Richfield Industrial Park, this coming Tuesday, DEC is meeting with Hunt Engineering at the site to review the wetland delineation that was done. Unfortunately, it's probably going to rain all day, so I don't know if they're going to postpone that meeting.
Irony.
Get that around if it's easy.
Yeah, it'll be a bigger wetland now.
But have we revised the site plan to remove that third lot, and we're focused on the 2 lots?
Yes, those were revised. I sent those also to DEC. I have not heard back from them. I think they want to go out and verify that the wetland delineation map is accurate, and then we'll go from there. John Hammond and Mike Hammond are also going to meet on the site representing us because I have to take my sister to her doctor in Syracuse that day.
And they are home.
John Hammer and Mike Hammer own the company that is an energy company that is working with NYSEG to get the approvals from NYSEG to do the gas line extension, electric line extension. I should have out by tomorrow the Hunt Engineering proposal to EDA for their final approval. Everything's kind of contingent on, well, right now, everything is on hold onto the next item, which is the, apparently, the town attorney talked to our 2 attorneys and indicated an unwillingness to take either ownership or sign, be a co-applicant. So at this point in time, we're at a complete standstill because EDA is requiring that.
What's the reasoning behind here?
Can we get Larry online here?
Sorry.
Can we have Larry?
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning,
Hi,
Larry.
Larry.
So the town attorney has pointed out several areas of concerns as he was kind of peeling the onion, if you would, for what, from our perspective, is a switch in this ownership to immediate on this water and sewer infrastructure. I don't think it's anything that can't be resolved, but it just was more complicated than they were hoping, or it's more complicated than I was hoping, and I think the board is is more concerned than they were prior to this kind of big change in direction. So I know that our attorney is reviewing the construction documents, the construction agreements. He's of a mind that we should have a town component, our home engineering firm, and possibly a clerk of the works, as this is all put together at a minimum. So and he's finishing up his analysis, and he'll present that to the entire board. At my board meeting Monday, I kind of prepared the board that we may need to have a special meeting specifically to talk about this with our attorney. We would put that in an executive session immediately. And the town attorney needs to present this to the full board. So that's kind of where we are with that. Jody, are you going to get me a copy of the updated plan and another application so that I can get to the planning board this Monday to rehabilitate the use permit?
I can send that to you after this afternoon.
Okay, super. So,
So what are we, I guess, because obviously us moving forward with all of this really does hinge on ultimately this agreement. What kind of timeline are you looking at for final decision making, yes or no, quite honestly?
I'm pushing ahead as fast as I can push. You know,
Do you have any kind of, like, I mean, has the lawyer given you, I should be reviewed by the end of this week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, what kind of timeline are we?
he hasn't. I would assume this decision can be made by our next full board meeting, but until Jim Hughes has the time to pull apart these agreements and make sure that the town can't get itself in a jam that, we've never had the resources to take this on, financially, and we are running a pretty large bill right now as these little problems put themselves in play. The IMA agreements are just about ready. I mean, the village attorney is happy with them. Our attorney is happy with them. He wants to add some verbiage in there about a guarantee for supply that's not in there currently, but those are ready to go for the water and sewer districts. So, I was afraid a month and a half ago when I got that first email saying that we needed to be added to this, that it was going to be a real big jump for us to do that quickly. But we really need, as a board, we have an obligation to make sure we don't get into obligations that we can't honor.
Let me ask you a question. Your attorney is telling you that you should employ an additional clerk of the works supervisor to watch this project as it goes from the start to the finish. Is that what he's saying?
He seems to be leaning in that direction, yes.
I've done like $75 million worth of commercial projects. I have never heard of double clerk of the works. I understand there's multiple municipalities involved here, but when a professional firm is hired to oversee construction, I've never heard of hiring another professional firm that at a significant cost to you to really do the same job that they're. And the other thing is, this is one of the most straightforward commercial construction projects you could ever do. I mean, they're laying pipe.
Yeah.
That's
digging a hole in main pipe.
That's just, that's a burden on the town. It's totally unnecessary as far as I'm concerned. But I get where you are with your attorney. You know what I mean?
Yep. Well, and again, the IDA, you guys were going to own this entire project for 30 years to begin with. So
All right, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole again, Larry. We've already had these conversations. That was a miscommunication in the contract. That was never the agreement. That was never what the board stated. We've given you a hold harmless as it relates to being a co-applicant. And if so, at this point in the end, really, we need commitment from the town, the village, and so we can determine if we're going to move forward. So you guys can choose to spend extra money. If you want to choose to spend the extra money, that's on you guys. ultimately. I've also asked you guys to counter with the ownership aspect to say, is there a time frame that you would feel more comfortable with? So, and we haven't heard anything back on that to bring even to this board to have that conversation. So I think we're still in the holding pattern, understand where you're at in terms of the complications and the complexity that you're dealing with. But unfortunately, we're waiting for you. So at this point in time, we'll sit back and honestly kind of put ourselves in a holding pattern and move forward with the DEC. But until you guys are either signing that hold harmless and or agreeing to be a co-applicant and understanding what's happening with the ownership, where there's not much more we're going to be willing to do as a board, quite honestly.
Well, respectfully, the IMAs that we were working on were changed. I mean, this $1.2 million grant with EDA was never included Richfield. The EDA actually had at one point the 30 years that were in the IMA changed to 20 because they felt that that was a more reasonable lifespan. So I don't understand the board. I've never dealt with the board directly, but in the years of dealing with this project with the IDAs that were sitting there, even before Jody's time, this was always the intent. So, we have a disconnect on that, but we're at where we are,
Yeah.
and we're working hard to move through it, get past it, and understand it. And I'm doing this as fast as I can do it, guys.
Yep, no, we definitely appreciate your time and attention to it. I think just understanding our position as well, and I don't think the board's kind of taking any different position than what we have always. So we'll wait.
There is a board member that used to sit on your board, that remembers at one point the IDA was going to own this infrastructure forever. So this, and that's probably a problem with a project that stretches over 20 years, is perspectives and things change and history gets forgotten. But, that doesn't change the fact that we are where we are today, and this board is not willing to own that infrastructure. So, we're going to try to move forward as best we can.
Okay.
Thanks, Larry.
All right, thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
So I think we had our public comment, unless there's any other public comment anyone would like to make. Mark, anything? We good? All right. I think we did want an executive session. Need a motion for the purpose of contract or. Okay.
This conference will now be recorded.
Coming out of executive session, no action was taken. Kurt, we do have a quick follow-up question as it relates to the Oneonta Theater. Did we do a title check when we were doing Foothills? And we found that we didn't see any ownership transfer, correct?
No, the Oneonta Theater.
Yes.
There was a transfer title into that new LLC.
Okay.
I forget what was it? 47 Chestnut Street LLC or some LLC. So it's not Cormier doesn't own it anymore. And I think I gave all that information to Jody. I mean, I have it in a file. I can pull it out again.
So I guess the question, Jody, if you could take a look and just pull that back up and just get confirmation if we like ultimately, I think there's still circling questions as to who actually owns that building. So if you've given that to Jody, Jody can take a look again.
Well, a deeper question, Curtis, if in fact title transferred, how did title transfer cleanly without our mortgage being satisfied?
Well, you can deed property, subject to the mortgage. I mean, the mortgage, it doesn't, the validity of the mortgage or the priority of the mortgage doesn't change as somebody transfers property. The new owner is taking it subject to that lien of the mortgage holder.
That's why they guaranteed it.
It's interesting because obviously there's a new risk, right? In terms of.
Well, no, what that does is it puts you in a decision point.
Right.
They took it subject to the mortgage. You didn't approve them as assuming the mortgage.
Right.
It's a past due mortgage. You could start a foreclosure action.
Well, all mortgages have provisions in them that, that, you know, has basically a due on sale clause, which means that you could call the mortgage based just on the transfer.
Right.
And we were not notified at all of the transfer, or don't need to be?
Well,
Legally, I mean,
apparently we weren't notified. Like I said, there's a clause in there that says if it gets transferred, we can call the loan.
So I think we follow the same.
It doesn't usually happen because owners want a title of the property free and clear,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
So that's why it never happens. Right.
You see the liens in your.
And these guys, for whatever reason, manipulating around that whole issue, what they're doing, frankly, is testing us that we're not going to do anything. It's exactly what they just said, put them aside.
The Chestnut LLC.
Right.
So I
It is
think
the Chestnut.
let's confirm that, Jody, in terms of their ownership. And I think we follow the same process we did with Foothills in terms of, again, I don't know if they have an official address to send anything to, but in terms of the letter regarding, you know, coming to the table for full payment and or a new payment plan.
My question would be, they could assume the mortgage, whatever bank the mortgage is.
No, they're not, normally mortgages are unassumable.
So however that happened, right? They must have dealt with the mortgage in order to transfer the property because the
They
bank.
didn't deal with us.
No, I understand that.
The other mortgage, all the other mortgages are either current or paid.
So my point is,
Well, the bank
the
mortgage.
$100,000 is a Tom Cormier obligation.
No, it would have.
Once you take the title to the property, the debt comes with it.
Okay. So they relieve Tom Cormier.
Well,
No. Tom Cormier wasn't released from his obligation. He transferred title and they took title subject to that lien.
Okay.
Tom is still on the hook. The lien is still in a valid position.
That's what I'm saying. Tom is still on the hook.
well, but they assumed it, so they're supposed to pay. I mean, he can't walk
No.
away. No?
They didn't assume the debt.
they didn't
took-
assume it.
The
Not,
mortgage.
they didn't assume it, at least they didn't assume it with the IDA. We don't know if there was some agreement between Cormier and the buyer.
Shouldn't there be some agreement with us?
Excuse me?
Well, in the real world, yes, but Tom Cormier was 50 years past due.
No, my point would be, in this case, he owes us the money, but they have title.
Yes.
Send a letter to both.
Well-
Honestly, we're gonna spend, we've spun 15, 20 minutes on this every time we've talked about it. So I think the bottom line is let's get a letter to the appropriate individuals to either call, do, or.
Kurt's on the line.
Well,
We should, go ahead. Go ahead, Jim.
we sent a demand, I sent a demand letter back in December. And then
You did, okay.
after 30 days, we referred that to Joe Scott to take action.
Oh, okay,
To who do we send
I
a
think
letter?
he's just fallen off his list.
okay, let's get it back on.
Let's get it on the list.
Who do you
Let's go.
send the letter to?
We already went through this.
Tom? Okay.
Okay, let's get it back on his list. Revive it now that we've, again, I think made good progress with Foothills and where we hopefully landed there. Okay,
I'm glad we cleared that.
all right. Any other new or unfinished business?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. All right, we'll move over to the CRC agenda.
Motion to adjourn.
Roll call is the same as the IDA. I will forego the chair's remarks. Move into the approval of the meeting minutes from May
So
25th.
moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Any new or unfinished business for the CRC?
I would make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Everyone have a wonderful